welcome to a different kind of episode of Funbearable. I am Ray Harrington, and with me are my sweet, sweet, gentle boys.
I'm Chuck Staten.
I'm Brad Rohr.
How you guys doing?
I'm great.
We're doing it through Zoom. We haven't. Is this our first three-man Zoom?
This is our first digital three-way. Yes.
Wow,
This is the first time I've ever used Zoom. I'm baffled.
You're doing a good job. Brad's not good at Zoom.
No.
It's one of the things I've noticed over the years.
Yeah, I'm very bad.
He always has his face in the lower half of the frame. It's always in shadow. It looks like he's being interviewed for a documentary, trying to hide his identity.
Yeah, Ray, I'm going to need you to put a voice filter on me so nobody knows who I am.
Okay, that's fair. That is fair. How do you want the voice to sound? Do you want it to be lower or higher?
No, just make it sound exactly like Chuck's.
Okay. That I can do. But listen, this is a different kind of episode. This isn't one of the main feed episodes of Funbearable.
Right.
We're doing something slightly different here.
Yeah, kind of a bonus, if you will.
Yeah, a bonus.
You know what I would call this episode? Actually, a bonus episode.
Oh,
I didn't want us each to say it once.
No,
you know
I
what I mean?
that. I like that. I could see that.
So here's how I'm framing this, and I want to know if you guys feel the same way.
Yes.
We're doing Funbearable. It just started. We can talk about it. And, you know, we're filming everything. We're putting a lot of thought into it and trying to make it really, really fun. But because we're doing that stuff, we're planning it and we're doing it ahead of time.
Right.
But if we do a bonus here and there that's kind of like this, and we just throw it up in the feed as an extra episode, it's almost like it's we get to catch up and talk about our lives and what's going on. Maybe we'll watch some movies, maybe we listen to some music, went to some events. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe Ray had a funny time this weekend at his show. I want to find out.
We were talking about this previously, and the reason I wanted to pitch this to you guys was because we're so far ahead in the recordings. We're going to lose that sense of timeliness, right?
Timeliness.
And time equals connection.
That's his marketing degree speaking.
Oh, shove it. But
synergy.
Synergy. We're talking about lateral moves here.
Ooh, yeah.
Cross-branding.
I'm going to do this pro bono. How about that?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, but Chuck thinks pro bono means something else.
Yes, he definitely does.
He thinks he got a certificate for it.
Oh, congratulations, Chuck.
So often I talk, and then Ray cocks his head to the side, and the tone of voice is, "Aw," like it's so cute. It's
because I'm
nice
proud.
He's trying. yeah. Thank you.
I'm a proud man.
You're a proud papa.
I'm not a proud boy. I'm a proud man.
Not in this podcast.
Yeah. No,
that's the other podcast where your identity is hidden.
Exactly. Yes. But real quick, speaking of the timeliness and connection, when we started recording the episodes that we've already done that are in the can, that are wrapped, they're wrapped up in a can.
Yes, it's like those old sardines where you need a key to open it. You ever see that in a cartoon?
Oh, sure.
You ever have a can key?
Yeah, that's how you know it's fancy. You can get that at Whole Foods if you look hard enough.
I'll look next time. I don't put much effort into it.
Excuse me. Where are your canned fish?
Do you know that canned fish is kind of fancy?
Yeah. Things have gone the other way.
I'll tell you this, people know I live halfway in New York and halfway in Rhode Island. Around the corner from my house in Rhode Island, there's a new place that I actually think that both Ray and Brad would appreciate called Archive. And it's basically a sitting library where you go in and you look at books and you're in this relaxed space and they serve you basically not full meals, but kind of small plates and treats and stuff.
Tapas,
and one of the things, tapas almost. Yeah. But one of the things they give you is a canned I don't know if it's tuna or what kind of fish it is with crackers and cheese and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, all the poor things become exclusive, become rich, exclusive things. All the foods.
The gentrification of food.
It's true. Lobster was trash. Lobster was just trash you fed to prisoners and poor people.
You know what sucks too? I never got the memo about that, so I still feed my pigs lobster.
Oh no.
It's so expensive. It's so expensive, and they have high cholesterol.
I can't.
So it's bad.
I can't wait for the day when we see the super wealthy, the 1%, the elite, eating pimento loaf. And having like Lucky Charms or you know what I want to see? I want to see rich people at like a wedding or something, and they peel back the foil cap of one of those plastic barrel bottles of horrible juice. Remember that?
Oh, Hugs.
Oh yeah.
They're just called
horrible
Hugs.
juice.
Yeah.
I love horrible juice.
The water that's a food.
Yeah. The water that's not even a liquid. I don't know what it is. It's thinner than water. I don't know what could be in there.
Retro, you guys.
Have you ever wanted to drink a glow stick? Peel back this tin foil cap of this plastic barrel for some reason and drink some. What did you say it was, Brad?
They're called Hugs.
Hugs. Nope, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Drink a hug.
Hugs. All right, this is dangerously close to a normal episode at this point.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
right.
my point is, like, we lose that timeliness, and I think that's a special part of our dynamic, our friendship.
Yes, we get to talk about what we're going through and the stuff
we all
like.
love talking about pop culture stuff, and
Yes.
it's a chance to do that. But speaking of the most timely thing, what I was saying before, we didn't have when we started recording episodes, we didn't have a theme song.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And so therefore we haven't had a chance to give a shout out to the incredible Tally Hall, who did the song, Turn the Lights Off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard the song. I played it for you guys. We all kind of liked the song, and it was like, I think this could be a really good theme song. Reached out to Tally Hall, and they were so kind, and they let us have their song. So go listen to Tally Hall and support those fellas.
And you know what? In the same vein, artwork, same situation almost.
Absolutely.
Right, Gracie?
Yeah, Gracie Cannon. She's a comedian as well in New York, and
Yes.
she also went to school for design, and she does amazing illustrated work. And we reached out to her, and she put together an incredible thing. She made us all look at-able.
See, here's
Yes.
I mean, let's pull back the curtain. I'm going to tell the truth. This
Part
is
that
something
kimono,
I used to do.
pull the curtain back. Let me see it all.
I used to do it on the Chuck and Brad podcast all the time, and I'm bringing it over to Funbearable. I'm pulling it back. Here's what's going on.
Oh boy.
My face is just plain bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what most people say. That's the feedback I've gotten.
Just
and
on
I don't
the
even
street.
ask for it. It's just a lot of emails.
That's what the doctor said when you were born.
Every 6 months, I have to get a new email address because so many people, they're
Yeah.
flooding in. Your face is bad. Your face is bad.
You've
the
got
nose
a bad
is
face.
the worst part.
Your
bad
morals
face.
are questionable. Yeah.
Right.
You keep
Twisted
getting old
pelvis.
VHS cassette tapes of the movie Face Off as a commentary on your face.
It's
the
more
mail.
of like a suggestion. It's like, hey,
Yeah, exactly.
if anyone is the poster boy for getting this surgery going, it's you and your fucking face. So I got a bad face. Gracie saw my face and she said, I guess this is what I have to capture. And she put it down on the artwork. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're going to need a little Clooney in here. Maybe take an eyebrow from Brad Pitt. Maybe take a cheekbone from...
No, you said, I believe what you said is take an eyebrow from Brad's Pitt.
Yes. So if the drawing had been further, I would have been missing an eyebrow worth of hair from my armpit.
Yeah.
That's right. And I got to be honest, this was my cleaned up version. Now I'm really going to pull back the curtain. I just wanted actual uglier celebrities because they're less ugly than me, the ugliest of celebrities. So I said, use Mickey Rourke's nose, Gary Busey's teeth. I want the Elephant Man's brain. And, but I was like, I'm too ugly. I know I'm ugly in real life. It was photo perfect, which is bad for business. Let's just say that. Every time my face is brought up, Ray sends me a text that says bad for business. So I was like, I'm so sorry, Gracie. I hate to be like this, but I kept making her shave down my nose. She was like the doctors in Face Off.
Yeah,
but she
and
was doing it for artistic reasons.
And so many revisions. And I had the express pleasure of being the middleman of that situation. So every time a new pass would come in, I'd be like, Gracie, this is awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to send it to my gentle boys, and we're going to look at this together. And then immediately Chuck would be like, my hair doesn't do that. My hair doesn't do that. I don't understand my hair. My hair doesn't do that. And then look at the line under my eye. And then it was a line that was like a millimeter long and so thin it wouldn't even it was a half pixel. And then he's like, tell her I want that gone. Strike it from the record. And I'm like, I have to go back to Gracie and be like, listen, can you also do some more work on Chuck's face?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I felt terrible. She's like that gap in your teeth. I could put 3 extra teeth in there if you want. So I was like, teeth me up, and she did.
Teeth me up.
Yeah, well, one was a Tyrannosaurus Rex tooth. One was somehow a blue whale tooth.
Yep. It's more of a. What is that thing? It's like a whisper of a rope or something. Like whales have weird teeth.
Baleen.
They're not like teeth.
They're not.
Baleen.
It's not teeth. They have baleen.
It's just weird too because I eat krill with my real teeth and it's fine.
Krill is going to be the next rich person's food.
Yeah.
Oh man, absolutely. Are you kidding me? For sure.
Yes.
Yeah. But I felt bad. I kept making her revision stuff, and then I knew Ray was getting, up. He was up to his eyeballs in annoyance. So I went behind his back and started contacting her and having her do it. Remember that?
Yes, I do remember this. Yeah. But we did it.
It was really more because I didn't want to filter my bullshit through you and make you deal with it.
No, I understand, and I appreciate that. And because I think all three of us have a common thing where we don't want to put upon other folks, right?
Yes,
we don't want to be that person. Like I have a strong kind of sense of once we're done, once I say like, yep, okay, that's great. Like I can't go back to something. I'll never send food back. I can't do that.
I know.
It's impossible, And then as soon as something like that happens, I'm like, oh, they're gonna destroy this food. They're just gonna do horrible things.
For me, I just don't want them to be sad. That's it.
I'm good at.
Sir, this was. Hey, Jim. Yeah. I got table 4. Said the macaroni and cheese was cold. If you could reheat it. What? If you can reheat it. What? Table 4. I worked so hard on that.
I'm so sorry,
God.
Jim.
I'm good at making them I'm like, I could keep this, but it's up to you. Like I remember one time we went to. Brad was there. We went out to eat, and I ordered these buffalo wings, and I always ordered the buffalo fingers, but this time I ordered the buffalo wings, and she brought them, and they were like the hottest wings I've ever had in my life. Mm-hmm. But it's weird because I would go there weekly and get the fingers, and they were not as hot. And so when she brought it back, and I was
fingers.
Like, I got weekly fingers, and then I said, by the way, that's my pen name.
But, Mr. Weekly Fingers.
Saturday mornings at penthouse.com.
she would
about the new exploits of Weekly Fingers.
She came back and she was like, I was like, hey, are there 2 buffalo sauces, like a hot one and a mild or something? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay. And then I could not physically eat it, which is kind of funny because it's a little different than like, oh, you brought me this and I wanted this. I could not stomach these wings. And finally the manager came over and clarified. She's like, yeah, we do have like a super hot sauce and a mild sauce. And she gave you the super hot sauce. But I was still like, oh, my bad. I should have known. I made it my mistake.
And you were crying
I was able to exchange
as you're
it.
saying that, right? Oh, no, it's
well,
fine.
I was just, what I would do is whenever they didn't look, I'd take a dab and just poke myself in the eye a little bit to manifest the tears.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah, it's believable.
I do have old business.
Okay.
I have old business.
What's your old business?
Which is weird because
old
this
business is my column on penthouse.com.
Oh, no, I don't want to read that column.
No, you do not.
I don't want to read that column. Oh, found another gray fox. Wait, isn't it silver fox? No, gray fox. She's dull. She's dull.
She's dull. She'd been, yeah.
As I untied her bustier.
Old business. The chair recognizes Ray Harrington.
And so I unwrapped her brace and
her bonnet fell to the floor.
So here's the old business. And this is more in the line of like stuff we've watched because we've talked about like what we're going to title these? Maybe we should talk about that first. What are we gonna call these particular bonus episodes? Because in my head, it was about talking about shows or movies we've seen that have come out or ended recently. And we didn't want to lose timing because that would be weird, right? If like a month later we talk about a thing and or timely stuff that came up in our lives.
Yeah.
I threw out originally to you guys, what you watching? I hate it, but it kind of was just like, well, that's maybe what we're doing here. What you watching?
Yeah, pretty much.
I have three suggestions, but they're all so bad. You want me to tell you them?
I do. Can you go from best to worst?
I gotta say it's a tie for
Wow.
bad. But well, I just thought of what if we called it Tim Timely in the Second Hands?
Okay.
No, don't
I
say
thought
anything
you were going to
yet.
start best to worst.
Can we?
That's one of them.
Can we get room tone for just maybe? Because I do hear crickets, but I don't know if the mic is picking it up.
So there's that one. Well, when you said what you're watching, which I don't love.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
I thought about maybe my idea was we could call it what you talking about, Willis, like from that old TV show. And the running joke was that every week it was supposed to be us with Bruce Willis talking about all the stuff, but then every week he has Zoom problems and he just can't zoom in. And I love the idea overall.
Sure.
But unfortunately, Bruce Willis recently retired from acting because he has aphasia.
Yeah.
So if that makes it like, oh, are they making fun of this? When really it's supposed, the joke would be just any big celebrity.
Right.
It would just be funny that person always has a problem and can't come on. But with him, it's it's a little bit strange, so that's not good. And my only other one was if we wanted to divide all the stuff that we talk about, movies, TV, whatever, into categories of like people should give this a shot or they should pass on it, we could call it ketchup and mustard. Because either you should catch up on it or, man, it must be a turd. You know what I mean?
Why wouldn't you go with it doesn't cut the mustard?
Yeah, you had me until must be a turd.
Also, people look like glancing at the feed and they're like, what is it? Ketchup and mustard number 19? What is this? What is this?
And then if you love it, you can relish in it. Oh. Hold on. Do you have more? What else? Sauerkraut. Let me think. Do you know any Germans that are really judgmental?
Oh, I've heard of a few.
Yeah. Historically, they're
very judgmental people. Oh, that reminds me. Earlier this week, right? And this is in news that we're like, what's going on? I had a show in Portland on Peaks Island, which is just off the coast of Portland, Maine. I was doing the comedy festival up there. We talked about that with Mark on the second episode of the podcast that came out earlier this week. And so coming back on the ferry, because you have to take a ferry to the show. I won't get into the details of the whole thing. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I had people come out that are friends from college, friends from high school even were there that I haven't seen in like almost 2 decades. It was wonderful. And so we're on the ferry on the way back. It's just one of those beautiful moments. I wanted to take a snapshot in my mind of like, I want to live here again, right?
Yeah.
It was so wonderful. And one of my friends from college, Leah, my wife's like best friend, she had a couple of friends with her. Another friend from college was with her, Sarah, and then a new friend. I don't know this person, so I'm meeting her for the first time. She's from Germany, and so on the way back, we're all talking, and something came up with we were talking about America versus Germany, and she said, there's Germans, we own our mistakes. Right. And we're talking about, how it's viewed post World War II.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which I will say, I think Germany does a pretty good job of being like, hey, we fucked up.
Yeah.
We are very sorry.
How do you
about
know that? How do you know that they do that? They do a good job.
They are very, very strict on a lot of different parts of it. Like Mein Kampf was just like, nope, no publications of this. Hitler's grave is basically just a parking lot It's paved over. Like, they don't care. They don't want anything like that. There's a lot of attrition. There's a lot of conscious we fucked up kind of stuff in there. Brad, you looked like you had something to say about
there's probably more Nazi memorabilia in America than there is in Germany.
Yeah, it's illegal to like fly the Nazi flag, stuff like that. And in America, like what we do, like the Holocaust, absolutely horrible, historical fucking tragedy on a level we can't really comprehend. Slavery, tragedy on a level we can't comprehend. The difference is in America, it's like, yeah, fly the Confederate flag, and like, it was about states' rights. About what was the right for the state, though? What was the right?
Right.
Was it a right to own people? You know what I mean? And it's
I see.
Yeah, it's like the South will rise again and all this shit. Like we don't treat it the same way at all.
Right. That is it. That's
This
really,
got
really
really
interesting.
serious. But I jokingly said to her, like, yeah, I know some Germans that made some mistakes for sure. And she's like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, she thought I was making a joke about World War II, and she didn't know what I was talking about at first. It went over her head. And I was like,
Hans
I had
Gruber.
to, but I made a joke, right? And everybody kind of laughed, but she didn't catch what I meant. And then I had to look her in the eye and go, I'm talking about the Holocaust. It was such an awkward moment of like, oh no, I just wanted to gently graze the topic. I didn't want to say it right to your face.
Right. That's really funny.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable.
That's great.
But no, I had a wonderful time doing those shows, and it was a really great time. I don't know why I brought that up, but it happened.
Yes.
It happened, and now it's a fucking documented piece of recording.
You know what? It got us away from those hot dog jokes, so I'll take it.
Oh yeah, that's
Good
right.
call.
Oh no,
I do have one more hot dog joke.
No.
Do you guys have suggestions for what this bonus series could be called? This timely catch up?
I had started with the idea of what you're watching, and I got to Hey Sport with the idea of like a parent coming in and a child is watching something on TV, and you're like, Hey Sport. Like the idea that you're going to try and connect with them through whatever media they're consuming.
Yeah,
that's funny. That's a very strange take.
Yeah, it's not descriptive. So if people see "Hey Sport" number 19 in our feed, they're gonna be like, "Huh? Are they talking about sports?"
It doesn't feel like this is like behind the scenes. It's kind of weird because like this is like we're doing a regular episode of the podcast without the zhuzh, right?
Yeah,
without that little bit of
Distinct lack of
zazz to it.
zhuzh.
Yeah, well, it is a thing of catching up with each other. That's why I think I use the word catch up. It's like it is catching up because it's going to be movies, events, like things we've done, all that stuff. So that's kind of where I got catch up from because that's really what it is.
How about this?
Maybe
If
it's like
more-
old pals.
Okay.
Like it's in that way, cheers.
Cheers.
Everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
Sam. The post guy.
How about this? If it's like
Post guy.
if it's like a sense of like casual, right? It's a casual hang, right?
Yeah.
What if it's like sweatpants?
I kind of like that.
Loose fit sweatpants. Loose fitting sweatpants with the elastic band that's worn out.
I could change.
Crotch rot. Crotch rot.
I don't know that.
No.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Crotch rot. I kind of like the sweatpants.
Wellness check.
Wellness check isn't bad, but it does kind of imply something that's not exactly what we're doing.
Right.
Support group.
Support group, not bad.
That's not bad.
I like the sweatpants though is good. Like
Sweatpants.
lounging. How about a lounge chair?
Sure.
Lounge. Is there another? Is there? Maybe
Lot
if there's
lizard.
a word.
Oh wait, no.
If there's a lot lizard.
Yeah. Here's what happened in my brain. I heard lounge. I thought lounge lizard.
Yeah, of course.
Then I immediately thought of lot lizard, which is. Do you know what a lot lizard is?
Oh,
Yes.
I have to travel from Rhode Island to New York all the time. Of course I do.
Oh, okay. It's a sex worker.
Yes.
Professional
Very
sex worker
well respected.
hanging out at
Yes.
truck stops.
Yeah, so any of us who are driving, wary, starved for affection, we get to take it out on somebody.
Or if you have a part-time job.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
All right. There are nights where my feet don't even touch the asphalt. I go truck cab to truck cab.
He does. He has like a little zip line thing. It's really weird.
Sometimes I count how many times my feet touch because they just pull up next to each other and I just go cab to cab. Yeah, and I just come in. I go, "Oh, you got a dog? That's fucked up." And then we do stuff.
How about this? Does anything rhyme with trio? B-O.
Brio.
No. I don't like that.
Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, ooh. I do think the idea of sweatpants or lounging or relaxing or hanging out is kind of a good direction.
I think this is something we'll figure out. Maybe this
Off
isn't.
mic.
Yeah, because I think
How about that?
if we record the entire process of us naming this, we then have to create a third removed kind of bonus episode, like a bonus that's even more casual. That's literally like just us talking and you can still hear like the muffle of the phone microphone being in our pocket.
Yes.
You know, but I wanted to the old business. I want to throw out the old business. This is in pop culture terms. I was listening to the last episode of the Chuck and Brad podcast, R.I.P.
Yes.
And I was crying while I was listening.
Right.
Yeah, very
I was
emotional.
sobbing. I started to choke. My wife got worried.
Yeah.
But early in the episode, someone wrote in with a question about Westerns.
Yes.
Yes.
And ironically, this past week, I decided to watch Sergio Leone movies.
Yeah.
And because thank you to Red Letter Media, channel on YouTube, those guys talk about movies, and they did like kind of a retrospective on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and I had never seen it. Full disclosure, I had never seen a Sergio Leone movie.
Yep.
And so I watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and was blown away by it. Truly impressed. Just so surprised at what it was. I was like, this is a modern film. And I just kept saying to my wife, like over and over, like, this was 1966. I can't believe it, right? Like the sensibility of it is fantastic. The shooting is amazing, all of it. And so we started going back. We watched A Few Dollars More, which is the middle movie. Loved it. So I thought it was so great. But those movies are so fantastic. I highly recommend it. We're gonna dive deeper. My wife was like, she got hooked on them too. But
she's wearing spurs to work.
Oh, she's spitting. She's kicking horses. All the stuff.
Shooting people at noon.
Please empty the spittoon.
She makes me call her Clint. And it's really strange. But what I didn't realize when I watched those movies was if you watch those two at least, right? Because those are the two I've hit on my list and I'm going to keep going. But if you watch those movies, especially The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, immediately I recognized so many fucking movies I've seen. And it's because they originated with this movie.
Yes.
And it's 1966 that this was made. And Sergio Leone, he is incredible as a director and like a visionary of what this should be. And I love the fact that it broke the mold of like traditional Westerns at the time.
Yes.
And it bucked all of the, no pun intended, it bucked all of those trends and then became the quintessential Western.
Yes.
By breaking the rules of all the other Westerns. And I love that.
That's really, really interesting because I went to school, when I went to school for film.
If you say you went to school with Sergio Leone, I'm going to shut this Zoom call off.
And we learned all about the spaghetti westerns. And I think we watched like clips or parts of them. But I don't think you could really sink into the feeling of what they are through clips.
No.
But I would love to sit down and watch all that stuff. It's been on my list for a while.
Yeah.
How the West was 1, 2, which is a little different, obviously. But still, like all that stuff, I'm psyched for that stuff, and I want to watch that stuff.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive. Like I would say that it's a toss. I'll go with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. For me, as soon as it was over, I was like, okay, so I have to put this next to The Godfather in terms of what it means for like cinema and what it meant for moving film forward.
Right.
I was so unbelievably impressed. And I'm somebody who loves the idea of a Western. I don't like the John Wayne style Western, but the overall stuff that's baked into a Western plot is so fun because it's
Yes.
like it's a time and place where you get to have, especially now when we're so aware of everything, right? Like, other kinds of action-y style movies. It's difficult. There's a lot of nuance. There's layers and all that stuff. Like now you can't just be like, they're the good guys, they're the police. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't exist anymore. But with a Western, it's like, here's the good guy and here's the fucking bad guy. You know what I mean? And the cops can either be good or bad because who knows? It's almost irrelevant about police because there's no infrastructure to deal with.
Right.
It's just these people out there. And I love so much of what was there, and it impressed the hell out of me. And I just wanted to add that in because it's too good not to recommend.
Yeah, I'm super psyched. I'd love to watch that stuff. I have basically, for the past couple months, I've been keeping a list of like classic movies that I really want to watch. Where I just kind of, you grow up and you feel more in tune with stuff that's more current because they're kind of dealing with the same life that you're dealing with and living in the same world. So I feel like there's always been this distance, especially in filmmaking, where you can immediately watch a movie from 1981 and feel distance from it.
Yeah.
So it's so much less engaging to you. But as I get older, I'm kind of like, man, I'd love to have all that knowledge though. And I'd love to like really experience that stuff and that type of storytelling. And now I kind of appreciate being pulled into a different time period in a different way.
Sure.
But yeah, for sure. I'm really, really interested in watching those Westerns.
I think for me, I watched The Good, the Bad, the Ugly in 2004, and I don't think I appreciated movies in general the way I appreciate them now. I don't think I looked at them necessarily with a critical eye or with an eye, or I guess believing that my stories were worthy to tell, and that watching these other stories, that my opinion mattered. Right. And so I watched it. I'm like, that was fun. But it wasn't, it definitely wasn't a deep watch. I watched it because Stephen King referenced it. That was it.
Right.
So I'd love to give it a rewatch and give it another chance.
Yeah, so impressive. Sure. And it's crazy because I think with us being in 2022, it's difficult to kind of hold on to that feeling of film, and looking back, like it's just so far away from when that was made. You know what I mean? Like I feel like when I was growing up, when I was a 90s kid, there were adults that were looking back at film and like enjoying it and, going from 95 to 1975. That's only 20 years.
Right.
It's only 20 years. And for us, if it was 20 years, we're just going back to watching 2002 movies. That's insane.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Well, I was very impressed with the cinematography of The New Guy.
or Fast and Furious 3.
Oh my God. Some of the editing work in Van Wilder is so impressive.
By the way, you know what? I don't want to derail you guys, but I did come up with a name for this series, which I think is actually perfect.
Jesus Christ. If you say The Good, the Brad, and the Fugly, I'm going to be mad.
No, it's actually perfect. There's a dual meaning, and you're both going to be like, that's it.
Okay.
For real. Not even joking.
Hit me.
All right. So we're going to do this as a bonus episode here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's going to be about the timeliness and the things going on in our lives and the stuff we've watched. What if it was just called Extra Extra? That's pretty good.
See it? What if it's what?
Go ahead. What?
What if it's Extra Extra?
But Extra Extra, you get the idea that this is bonus content,
right?
And Extra Extra,
read all
about it. It's the new stuff,
right?
Now do you get it?
No, I knew.
Brad was thinking pizza.
No, I was thinking
Little Caesars.
I was thinking coffee
garlic
order.
knots is what you're thinking. What is it?
I was thinking of a coffee order. Extra cream, extra sugar.
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like, Chuck
That's
doesn't drink
also
it with
extra,
extra.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's pretty good because we're extra sweet and a little milky. What do do you think about Extra Extra, though? That's pretty good.
I don't know how I feel about being called a little Milky.
I think Extra Extra is pretty great.
You know what? I think it's a strong maybe.
Oh, you fucking ass. It's
I just
so
gotta
good.
think about. I want to think about
All
it
right,
when we're
think
not
about it.
doing this.
Think about it. Here's what's great, though. 10 characters total in terms of like the actual letters.
Yeah.
It says extra in the name and it means news. So I'm just saying it's going to be hard to find something that hits all those.
I understand. I'm writing it down. Hold on, let me write it down.
Yep. And I also came up with scrounging and lounging, but I don't like that
No,
one.
I don't like that
That's
either.
more than 10 letters.
So now it's making me feel like I was talking to myself about Sergio Leone.
No,
Well,
I came up with this a long time ago. I was before you even mentioned
I just
it.
found it. I found the piece of paper today.
On the subject of Westerns, I watched, I guess, sort of an attempt at a modern Western via the magic of Disney Plus. I recently finished watching The Book of Boba Fett. Set in the
that's
Star Wars universe.
Totally.
Directed by Jon Favreau or produced by Jon Favreau. And I got to say, I thought it was okay. I vastly prefer The Mandalorian to The Book of Boba Fett, but I think it was worth the watch. It just felt oddly paced.
Yes.
Can I ask a question about the Book of Boba Fett?
Please.
I
Also, not enough actual books. Yes.
I looked at The Mandalorian as almost them being like, Boba Fett is a character that people kind of love, even though there's not much to him in the actual Star Wars movies.
Right.
And since he dies in, whatever, maybe episode 5 or 6, I'm not sure. 6. I kind of looked at The Mandalorian as almost a stand-in for Boba Fett, where they're like, well, let's just get a very similar guy and create this very similar show. Does it make sense to have The Mandalorian and Boba Fett as shows that run concurrently? Does that make sense?
There's some crossover. I'll say that without.
For sure. I mean,
Yeah,
I
no.
think you can.
I don't want to spoil it.
Well, I don't think it
For
spoils
Chuck.
anything to point blank say that the last 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett are basically in between season episodes of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my question is, like, are they different characters wholly?
They are different, and I think the problem is like once you establish the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
that guy Din Djarin, I think his name is,
Sure.
and you give him backstory, you let
Sure,
that
sure.
character develop and grow, and
Terrible.
and all of that stuff happens. Then
right, of course.
Then it's divorced from the idea of Boba Fett. I think it probably cynically started as an idea of like, let's do a Boba Fett, but it's not Boba Fett. I think that
Yeah, you're
makes sense. But then once you do introduce Boba Fett and you start telling that story,
That's what I mean. That's my question.
it's tricky because it's part of that. I think I keep running into this thing of it's part of a foregone conclusion a lot of times. Like you understand, I think, moving past his quote unquote death and doing this story is a thing. I
Right.
don't think Boba Fett has enough depth to warrant a television show, and I think the show proved that. And the
Yeah.
problem is with just in a plot basics way. If we were in the writers' room and we were breaking
Yeah.
this story, and we
Yeah.
had the whiteboard up, The Mandalorian is a complete blank slate. You don't know who Din Djarin is. You don't know what his deal is. You don't know his background, and you don't know where he's going. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're allowed to tell a story. When you start with Boba Fett, cool bounty hunter guy. That's all we know about him. Cool
Right.
bounty hunter guy.
Yeah.
He died in a big worm butt. You know what I mean? Like he fell into the desert's asshole, and he's
Wait,
dead.
was that a butt? I thought it was a mouth.
Oh,
I thought
that's
it was
where
the
you're
desert's
wrong, Brad.
vagina.
That's where. That's psychological, Chuck.
Chuck sees virtually any hole.
With teeth that will eat bounty hunters.
Yes.
With teeth that really chew up cool guys, and they make them feel so bad.
They chomp them, and they've got bad acid and stuff.
And they're mean, and they say, you're ugly. And we don't want
It's
you.
always
know.
saying
Your
you're
face
ugly.
is bad. Yeah.
Your face is so bad.
So I think with that, you have this built-in, like, you can't build the character from the beginning
Right.
because he falls into a desert butthole, and you know where that goes. So you
Yes.
can't do a prequel. And if you start
Right.
after that, you don't have you don't get to develop the character. The character has already been developed in a very shallow way as a side thing. So I just don't think there's enough meat on the bone to really flesh something out. They tried.
Right.
I think they tried the best they could to give him a background. Ultimately,
I hear you.
meh.
I think maybe the way that it worked out is they were like, people like Boba Fett, exactly the same thing as you, is like, we're kind of boxed in by these parameters and the stories we've already told. So let's do the Mandalorian. So we do get to do here's the backstory, here's the history of the Mandalorian, like people and what they're doing and how these bounty hunters live, and give you a sense of that world and that life.
Yeah.
And then after they do 2 short seasons of that, then they say, well, also Boba Fett lived through that thing. So it's almost like we use a different character to give Boba Fett a background.
Right. But then
Just
we
of a
love
communal
this character.
background,
But
not
now
an
we love
actual-
that character, and we don't
We
Boba
don't care
Fett shows
about
up.
Boba
Yeah.
Fett as much
Yeah.
because it's like we don't really know that much about Boba Fett. We've had 12 to 15 hours with Mandalorian, and we've had 7 minutes of screen time with Boba Fett in the past 50 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, I mean, I really liked all the Mandalorian stuff that I've seen, and I did like the scene of how they showed Boba Fett living through what happened to him in episode 6.
Yeah.
And that was like exciting to see. But I don't really feel super invested in finding out about Boba Fett's life, and I do feel invested in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The only reason I related it to the Western, the idea of somebody has to maintain law and order in this town, and
Yeah.
how are they going to do? All right.
I think it's very related to the Western.
Right.
I think the whole
Oh,
point
the whole thing
of
is a
Mandalorian
Western, yeah.
is to be a Western in space.
I mean, we get a sheriff.
Mandalorian, but then Boba Fett specifically
see.
is like,
Yeah.
I'm going to run this town, and this is how I'm
okay.
going to run it. And Ming-Na Wen is here, and she's great.
nice.
But, the
It's
show
very
itself.
strange. Like I get what you mean, and like we got to run the town.
Yeah.
But I don't think they leaned far enough into that storyline to make it feel like he's running a Western town.
Right,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It just sort of there were too many moving parts and not enough time spent on those things.
Right.
And so
Right.
I was just relieved when it turned into a Mando episode.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, here we go.
That was by far my favorite episode. Was like, what's been happening to Mando?
Yeah, and it's good.
Yeah.
I have kind of a Western adjacent thing too, actually.
Oh, good.
Hit me.
Well,
So I have another Western adjacent
going
thing on my list
smoothly
too.
here.
This is going to
Wow,
be a
this is
Western.
great.
Woo!
We didn't even plan this at all.
Get the
Yeehaw.
pan pipes. Get the pan pipes.
So my 2 things go together as Westerns.
Okay.
One of them is that in Texas, there's a great movie theater chain called the Alamo Drafthouse.
Yes.
And they just opened one near my house in Staten Island. And I saw Nope there, which is Western adjacent.
It is Western adjacent. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So Alamo Drafthouse, awesome movie theater where they kind of take movies really seriously. So all their theaters are like stylized, and they have a ton of like old cinema styles in terms of the way they design them. This one, because it's in Staten Island, was designed with help from the RZA from Wu-Tang Clan, and it's all like wicked old kung fu movies, and they have these monstrous old vintage posters, an amazing backdrop of a painting and everything that was made specially for this. They have a ton of specific Staten Island, Wu-Tang, and Alamo Drafthouse like merchandise there.
Ah, yeah.
They have the original Turtles arcade machine on free play, 4-player, which is cool, and they have an adjoining bar called the what's it called? The Flying Guillotine, and I went there with my buddy Brian Rupert, who's a great guy. He helped us film a couple episodes of Funbearable. And he works on the Tell Him Steve Dave projects with me. And he's a great, great dude. And we went there one night. We got food. The food was awesome. The bar is awesome. The place is great. And they take movies so seriously that you can have people kind of like, if someone's talking on their cell phone, or they have, or they're talking in the theater, or they're using their cell phone, you can press a button, and the Alamo Drafthouse staff comes in to make sure that person, like, to let them know not to do that. And if they do it again, they kick them out, which is amazing.
Man, can we get that? Can we get a button like that, maybe?
Yeah, right? Isn't that so cool?
I think that would be a good idea. What do you think, Brad? Can we get can Brad and I share a button? I'm not saying why,
Yeah.
but
Just
if
the two of
maybe
us.
if Brad and I could share a button,
yeah.
and then somebody could kind of come in and be like, we need you to to stop making things so sexual. You know what I mean?
Anyway, back to the sand vagina.
Yeah.
So so we went to go see.
Is it guillotine or guillotine? Because my entire life I've said guillotine.
I've said
I think they're
guillotine
both-
as well.
I think they're both acceptable, and guillotine, because I say it, is more acceptable.
Okay, got it.
You know
That
what I
makes
mean?
sense. Yeah, of course.
So, but yeah, it was killer. I love the aesthetic of it is amazing. The food was great, and then we went to go see Nope, and I loved. We're not going to spoil Nope at all. We're just going to talk a little bit of non-spoiler talk because Ray has seen it. Brad has not.
I have not.
I loved the visuals of Nope. I feel like it's so cinematic and it's such a great vision for a movie. The intent behind it, I think, with a lot of filmmakers, sometimes as they go further into their careers, they like to insert a lot of stuff that is up to the viewer's kind of decision in terms of like, how can I say this?
It's ambiguous.
It's super ambiguous. You know what I mean? And I think that sometimes that's great and it makes sense for me in terms of like, let's say The Shining. I think The Shining has a lot of stuff that's ambiguous that really works for me. Some of the stuff in Nope ended up being so ambiguous to me that it disconnected me from the plot. But I was so impressed with not only the visuals and the cinematography, but the idea that in 2022, we have a very deserving horror director getting to make exactly the movie he wants to make.
Yes,
And he kind of has an unfiltered vision.
Yeah, I think the larger view of Nope at this point, I think critically or how audience sees it, I think it for the most part stands like better than Us, but not as good as Get Out.
Right.
And I would agree with that. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the movie that you
Killer
can
stuff.
unpack. You can unpack a bunch of stuff, like what this character represents, why this happened, all those things you can unpack. And I think some of the theories I've heard I like, some of the theories I've heard I don't love, but I can understand why someone would think that. And more importantly, like I'm just happy that's happening. I'm happy that discussion is happening around it. But I will say the thing I can definitively say about Nope is that the for lack of a better word, I'm going to say a B story of Nope. A thing that happens in the, it's in somebody's past. We learn about that.
Yes.
That particular thing was so effective. And I mean that in both spellings of the word. It was so visceral. And like, I have not been that uncomfortable in a movie theater in a long time.
Oh yeah.
And I appreciate the hell out of it. It's one of those moments that makes me see the object that it's about differently forever now. And I love, like, when I walked out of the movie theater with my wife, I said to her, like, that felt like something that was in his head before this movie. Like, this was an idea he had before and found a place for it. And then I found out later he had tweeted about a nightmare he had back in 2014 or something.
Yep.
And it's so good. And I'm happy that Jordan Peele is making movies and that he gets to make stuff that we go to. And I love that Get Out was such a fucking like huge deal because it's an impeccable movie. Get Out is amazing.
Yes.
And just a tour de force especially for like a first time filmmaker. And I love that gives him the clout to be able to make these movies. I didn't love Us. I loved the first 2/3 of Us. The first two acts of Us are great. Then it goes a little too far for me. That's just for me. I'm just happy it fucking exists. I'm so happy that he gets to make these movies and kind of guarantee that people will come out.
For sure.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. And it is Western adjacent. Nice job.
It really is. And I feel like the cool thing about it that is kind of going unsaid a little bit is just like, that this idea doesn't come across a studio desk and the studio is like, yeah, let's do it. Just based on the idea. It's coming based on the creator and based on the mind behind it and the direction that's going to come along with it.
Yeah.
Where they have to say, well, we got to trust this person because they've done so well. That it's great to have an unadulterated vision.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love it.
You know?
And it
the
just
thing
makes
you're
me,
referring to me is like, I could have watched a whole movie about that.
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and it's one of those scenes where it's very rare to have a scene or a movie where I'm like, I love this. It is so good, and I never want to see a frame of this again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's so uncomfortable.
Oh, for sure. It's great.
Yeah,
It's killer.
like Requiem for a Dream is one of those movies for me where when I saw that, I was like, this was a fantastic movie, very well made, very impressive. You know, when I saw it when it came out. So at that time, it was doing something new. And it was one of those movies where like, I love this and I never want to watch it again.
Yeah, right.
You know?
No, totally. Yeah, so I Brad, you're really going to like that stuff too. I think you're going to have
I'm
similar
excited
feelings.
to watch it at some point.
I
The
will
trailers were like awesome too. I think that
sure.
there is, as I get older too, one of the things I appreciate is the art of the trailer. And Nope has such killer trailers.
Yeah. At some you know what? Sometime we should have my buddy my buddy London Joe is what I call him. Joey Fallon on the podcast. He should be a guest because he's a trailer editor. That's
Yeah,
his
I'd love to
job.
see
He
it.
edits these trailers, and
Wow.
it is a very different craft.
Oh, it sure is. I like one of my favorite trailers is for the movie Man of Steel, and the movie is not even very good, but the trailer is like you feel so full of promise for this world that
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
ultimately it's like a heartbreak because
Yes.
doesn't come true, but it's so. You feel like you have tears in your eyes by the end of the trailer, and you're
Yeah.
like, "This movie is going to change my life." You know what I mean?
I think for me, the trailer that really sticks with me is I believe it was Edgar Wright that did the trailer. Don't. That's the movie. Don't.
Oh,
Do you remember Grindhouse had the fake trailers?
Yeah, I don't remember the Don't trailer though.
Don't this
No.
summer.
Oh, dude, I think, like honestly, I think if there was a TV show and they were like, yeah, we're just gonna do 6 episodes every 6 months on Netflix, and all it is fake trailers, it
Yeah.
could be fucking hilarious.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
fake trailers.
Yeah, no, that one is really fun. I believe it's Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
But it's really fun, and I love the premise of that. Like, it's a horror movie just called Don't.
yeah.
But it's so good. But my other Western related thing, and then
Yes.
we'll I guess we'll salute the West unless Brad has a Western adjacent thing. Here.
no, it's not going to get the other stuff I've read or what. I'm thinking.
Try and think of it with like spurs or maybe going a pew pew pew, right? Like maybe
All right,
that
hang
would
on.
help.
All right, I'm continuing to think.
See,
Go ahead.
maybe you could change just one word, add partner to it.
Okay.
So I saw a new movie that the both of you have not seen yet, I believe. BJ Novak's new movie, Vengeance.
Ah,
I
yes.
have not seen it.
This is Western adjacent, right? It's not a Western. It does
Right.
take place in Texas. There's an awful lot of cowboy hats and boots and guns and pew pew pew, right? I watched that movie with very little expectation to it because the trailer for that makes it seem like it's going to be a kind of like just a straight up fish out of water thing. You know what I mean? Like here's this hipstery New York City guy, and now he's in West Texas. Oh boy.
Right.
It's going to
Yep.
be so different. And again, thank you to Red Letter Media for saying like, no, this was pretty good because I downloaded it off of their recommendation. And it was fucking great. I really, really liked that movie.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited for it. We had a long talk about it last night, and I really want to see it.
Yeah, I texted you, Chuck.
Yeah.
At one point when I was just like, this is so, like, I was very early in the movie and I was like, oh, this is good. Like, this is surprising me already, where
Yeah.
it's like a 90-minute kind of comedy, which that doesn't exist anymore. And
Yep.
we've talked a lot about how those like 10 to 20 to 30 million dollar comedies don't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And lo and behold, it's Blumhouse that brought this movie out. Blumhouse
Yeah.
was the production company. And of course, because they do all of the 10, 20, 30 million dollar horror movies, And they brought this out, and they brought it out because I think of the cloud of BJ Novak and the stars that are in the movie, that kind of stuff. It impressed the hell out of me. Like it is funny. There's funny stuff in there, but it subverts your expectation on the plot multiple times. Where you go, okay, I think this will be what the movie is. No, and it shifts. And his script is amazing, and this just made me go, wow, okay, BJ Novak, I think I am a huge fan of his writing. Like, he's so good.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Ashton Kutcher's performance in the movie is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I
can't believe I'm saying that.
That's great.
So I highly recommend Vengeance. It was so good, and it's a movie that I would not have given a chance had I not heard from somebody I respect their opinion, right? Like if Red Letter Media says something is good, I kind of give it a little more attention. That's my version of an Ebert saying thumbs up, right?
Right.
But so I wouldn't have seen this if I didn't hear from someone, hey, this is worth it. And that's why I wanted to say it here, because I want other people to give pause and check it out.
No, it's killer. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like Blumhouse is like a weird, like you can't tell. Like for a while it was like, this is going to be great. Then Blumhouse like produced a bunch of shit, and now they're kind of like,
that's their game though. And the guy that runs Blumhouse, like he'll tell you flat out, that is the game. That's their business model.
What do you think it is?
Their business model is, we make lower budget, not bare bones budget, but lower budget, like that $10 to $20 million kind of horror movie.
Right.
And his whole thing is like, instead of making one, $90 million movie, I can make $10 million movies. And all I need is for one of those 9 to hit, and I've made back all of my money and more. And
it's funny because
that's his entire business plan, and it works.
That's basically what the movie industry used to be.
Yeah.
That's what it was in general.
Yeah.
But Blumhouse also did Black Phone, which was so great. And I can't wait for you to see it, because you're going to like it a lot.
They've become like a respectable outlet now, and rightfully so. And now I think more people are working with them.
Yeah.
Right? Like BJ Novak going over there and doing that, I think makes sense. Black Phone and that being, more name kind of stuff there, that makes sense. It's really interesting, but it's a horror based place like Vengeance. It's kind of surprising to see that movie under the Blumhouse banner.
Right.
Blumhouse, Blum.
I always say Blum.
Ooh, I say a blue.
But it's however Chuck says it is more
The
important.
Blumhouse guillotine. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Blum.
Yeah.
That's how I say.
It's
I
killer.
say Blum.
I say Plumhouse.
Oh,
Ooh, that's a good name for our bonus episode.
the Plum House. That sounds. Honestly, I hate to say this, sounds like a gay bar. It really does.
Oh yeah.
That's hilarious.
Why do you have all that glitter on you? Oh, I was at the Plum House.
Blumhouse.
Or a male strip club. Fuck it,
Yeah.
make it a male strip club.
Yeah.
So let me change my setup then. Why do you have all that glitter on you, and why do you have a black eye? I was at the Plum.
I sat front row at the Plum House.
Front row. The guy tied a weight to it.
That's impressive. Very impressive.
I had a fun day last week I wanted to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
Were you wearing Spurs?
No, I wish I was. No, it was fun.
His chaps were
obviously-
assless, but for a different reason.
Oh yeah.
It's funny
he was
because
at the Plum House.
one of the things that's interesting about this new podcast, Funbearable, is like, for a while on Chuck and Brad, I would really reiterate certain things about my life, because I'm like, well, who knows if the audience has ever heard an episode before? And I guess I should go back to doing that a little bit. Like earlier, I said, tell him Steve Dave without explaining that. And that goes against my podcasting rules, because
this is we have parted the kimono. We've pulled the curtain back just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to say, like, earlier when I mentioned Tell 'em Steve Dave, maybe I should have explained it, but it's a successful podcast with Quinn from Practical Jokers and the guys from Comic Book Men that I've been working with for like 6 years on film projects. And I work with another podcast, Tuesdays with Stories, with Mark Norman and Joe List. Mark was on our podcast last week. And we were doing a live episode in Pennsylvania recently with, a guy that's friends with Ray and myself, Soul Joel. You know Soul Joel. Wonderful guy.
Absolutely. I love Soul Joel. He's such a good dude.
He's a great guy.
He's
He's
genuine.
a comic.
I like him.
He's super genuine. He's a comic and a booker, and he had in the summer, starting in the pandemic, he would do Soul Joel's Comedy Dome, which is this outdoor venue that he built and started having comics come down. And he still does it in the summer. So we did a live Tuesdays with Stories, and we drove down there. And it was in the car. It was me, Joe List, Mark Normand, Andrew Chavone, who's going to be on our podcast soon as well, and Ari
And
Shaffir.
Joe List, who's going to be on our podcast as well.
Yeah, and Joe List too. But I never met Ari Shaffir before, and I know him from being, around the New York comedy scene and a fan of comedy for so long. And it's funny because he has this reputation of kind of being like he'll do anything and he's crazy and blah, blah, blah. And he's antagonistic. And like he drugged Burt Kreischer and he made the Kobe Bryant joke that basically got all these things taken away from him. And so he has this reputation of kind of being like a comedy, badass type of like kind of pushing buttons on purpose.
I think just
guy.
asshole. I think asshole is probably, you're dancing around it so bad. You went with badass because ass was in your head and you went badass. And I'm like, that's a totally different thing. That's like
ass has been in my head
jumped
since
a
Brad
car
mentioned
on
the
a
jabs.
motorcycle.
Well, yeah, so he has this reputation. And I was like, oh, it's going to be interesting going with Ari because I don't know him. And Joe and Mark are like, yeah, we're going to do a podcast on the way down in the car too. We're going to do Ari's podcast. So we did it. We did an episode of his podcast, Skeptic Tank. And, he was like pretty nice right away getting into the podcast, whatever. We were joking around right away.
Good.
And then after we stopped recording, behind the scenes all night long, was like the nicest guy. And since then has been like incredibly nice to me, including me in all the mentions of the podcast and the day, tagging me in all the stuff, like just a wicked nice guy. And I'm almost like, I'm shocked. I was taken aback by it.
Wow.
But
what a badass.
It was a killer day. I mean, it was very fun going down and recording on the way there. And then we got there, we did a 3-camera shoot for the live Tuesdays that we put on the Tuesdays with Stories Patreon. My friend Jen showed up and she made cookies for everyone that were killer. Chavone is hilarious. You guys both know Chavone. I love him. I think he's such a funny guy and has such a unique personality.
He's a total
great
badass.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, Chavone is not a bad.
Chavone is the guy that walks out.
You know what?
Chavone is the assistant manager of a Kohl's that walks out and goes, what's all this racket with a motorcycle going around in the parking lot?
The only reason you would mention badass in the same sentence as Chavone is because those emails I get about having a bad face? He gets the same ones about having a bad ass. But he's seriously like such a nice, happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah.
So funny. You know what?
If I was a criminal, I would mug the shit out of him. I would mug the shit out of Andrew Chavone. If I saw Andrew, how does he survive in New York City? How does he survive in New York City?
I'll say this. I'm not a criminal. I still mugged him.
Yes.
You know who Chavone is?
Brad Rohr would mug Andrew Chavone.
You know what most people say after they meet Chavone when they have some sort of background with him? They say, so why did they ask him to leave our church? But it was so fun. Like Soul Joel's a great guy. Obviously I'm friends with Mark and Joe. I'm new friends with Chavone, but I love him. Ari was so nice. So we just had like such a wonderful time going to Pennsylvania and doing this live podcast.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. Can I pull back the curtain a little bit? I might get in
Please
trouble
do.
for this, but I'll tell
You
the
keep
truth.
asking. The curtain's already been pulled back. We
All
took
right.
it down. We took the curtain down.
So do you guys know the comedian Raj Balani? Probably not.
No.
He's a great guy. He's been to Rogue Island. He's been around for a long time. He does a bunch of stuff in New York. He's really, really funny. And if you follow him on Instagram, you'll see his clips. He's really funny. And so we were driving there and they were like, oh, we forgot to, basically book an opening comic, because usually before the live Tuesdays with Stories episodes, they'll have someone do 5 minutes or 7 or whatever. And we were driving down and we stopped at a Starbucks. And so me and Ari are in line and Joe and Mark are like in the bathroom. And then around the corner, for no reason, Raj Balani walks around the corner and I'm like, hey! And I go, you can open the show. And Mark and Joe were there. And they're like, I'm like, you can open the show. Come do 5, open the show. And we're all having fun and partying. And then I'm like, I just offered the opening spot of the show. And I didn't ask anybody.
Too
and I just kind of spilled out of my mouth.
Yeah, too comfortable, man.
I know. But he came down and he opened the show.
That's great.
And his mom came out and he's like, this is my mom. And he's like, Raj has been really, really nice. We had, on the Tuesdays with Stories Patreon, we do a documentary series called Hot Gay Sets where we follow Mark and Joe to different sets. Brad came up with the name.
Brilliant name.
And we did a show at Rogue Island and Raj had given Mark a ride there. And the tire popped. So the whole second half of the documentary revolves around me, Mark, Raj Balani, Katie Latimer. I think it's Latimer.
It's Latimer. Yeah, Katie Latimer.
Yeah. It's all about us trying to basically plug the tire in at 2 a.m. in Rhode Island. But but so he came down too. So it was kind of this cool group of people of all people that are super nice, Soul Joel, everybody. We had such a good time. All the Tuesdays, the fans of Tuesdays with Stories,
hate the name.
Were super psyched to see me. They were super nice. They gave me a bunch of gifts. They gave me the Seinfeld trivia deck to give to play with Mark and Joe in the car, which we did play on the way back. More cookies. Someone made more cookies, which was really nice. And it was just a great time. Very positive.
Now, what did the cookies have written on top?
Yeah, was there a message?
Did you get
that
any?
Funbearable episode had not come out yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh man. So no sweet treats with slurs?
No slurs yet.
Man.
But yeah, it was just a great day.
Yeah.
It was a great day.
The cookies that Jen made had them.
Oh yeah. Well, those
sure.
always have had them.
Yeah. And hers are deep cut slurs where some of them I was just confused by it.
Yeah, you have to. They were used in the
Google.
1800s. Yeah.
Most of the slurs she used, I do have to look them up.
Also, I feel like she just kind of makes up her own slurs.
Right.
A lot of them seem to be just a food item and a basic everyday item, an object, right? I remember lifting one cookie and it said, fuck these taco cabinets.
And I'm I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I asked Chuck what it meant and he just kind of gave me an eyebrow, what that means. Yeah.
The eyebrow.
Good cookies, though. Good cookies.
Yeah.
She's so nice, though. Just don't get her started on Armenians. Oh, my God.
Armenians?
Yeah. She's like an off-the-beaten path kind of racist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
She's fringe. She'll say, I hate a whole group of people, but you've never heard of them.
Yes. She's very, very gatekeepy because you're like, oh, should I hate them too? She's like,
Yeah, whenever there's a news story about oh man, there's some racism against this group, she always kind of leans over and goes, I hated them before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's weird.
No, but it was just a very fun day and it's a really positive experience. And it was
that's
fun
lovely.
to meet Ari in this funny way. And I'll tell you a funny thing. So I'm talking to Bert Kreischer's people because his cameraman went to film a Tuesdays with Stories at Mark's bachelor party. I forget where it was. Maybe it was Florida. And they wrote to me and they're like, hey, buddy, you have the footage. And they just kind of were explaining the footage so I could put it together. By the way, we're big fans of Tuesdays with Stories. We feel like we know you and all this stuff like that from that kind of stuff, which is fun.
Great.
And I'm going to send them back the SD card that they sent me with all the footage on it with a message for Bert because he's so big into video promos and our video promo for Funbearable. I think that's fun.
Hey, there you go. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. But yeah, so that was just a fun day. I'll
also point out that you probably drove west to get to Soul Joel. So west adjacent.
West, we're going west.
It's a Western, baby.
It's a Western. But yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had some other, I went to a concert recently, which I haven't done in a long time. I used to go to, I feel like I was thinking about this with Brad. we used to go to concerts like constantly. Our calendar was just filled with like, we're going to do this and this and this.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic obviously changed that stuff. But recently I went to see the Decemberists in Central Park.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, my friend.
Did you have a ton of experience with them?
See, that's the
prior
thing
to
is,
it? Yeah.
so my friend Lindsay loves them. It's like one of her favorite bands. And she asked me a while ago, she's like, oh, would you go to this? And I'm like, fuck yeah. And I saw that they do these shows. I think it's called Center Stage or Summer Stage, and are all around the boroughs around
Central
New York.
Summer Stage.
Summer sausage.
Yes.
Early
And,
July.
Yeah, yes. I love a late July. That's my
Curly
Ray impression.
fries.
That's from one of Ray's bits.
It's funny because it's not really an
I
impression
love a
of
hot
me.
July or a late July.
I love a good hot July. Like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
what it
line.
is, yeah.
But I'm in a character voice when I say that line.
Yes, I
So
know.
I get deeper. I go down here. Yeah, I love a good hot July.
I love a good hot July.
when the air
Yeah.
is so thick. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
panicking. But ironically, July is a Decemberist song. So
Oh, see, well, this is what I was going to say.
bringing
Like,
it all
I
the way
want to
back
talk about
around.
the night, but it seems very much like when Ray and Brad were in New York recently, which I do think would be fun to talk about a little bit. Although we did talk about it on an episode coming up.
I think we can talk about it. We should talk about it on another bonus. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because we're
Yeah.
getting long on this one.
I know. But I was going to say, we were talking about, what type of music do you like? And you were like, yeah, I don't know. And then remember you started kind of cycling through songs you were showing us and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the Decemberists when we went to go see them, who I didn't know. They were killer. They were
Absolutely.
like incredible. Lin-Manuel Miranda came out and did a song
Yeah.
with them because they had
I
written a
love it.
song they wrote a song for Hamilton that didn't get in. So he came out at Central Park and did it with them when we were there live.
That's
It was
great.
fucking
Oh, that's
crazy.
that's so
awesome.
good. Yeah.
But I was thinking, I was like, for sure, Brad, you would like them. And I think, Ray, I think you'd like them a lot. But do you already know them?
Yeah, I'm already a fan of the Decemberists.
Really?
Yeah, the Decemberists are great.
Because me and you both like December, the month. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, I'm talking about a band called the
Oh,
Decemberists.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought we were talking about a band called the Early November. Is that not the case?
Oh,
Little
no,
emo-y.
it's the November Rain.
I do love that song.
Yeah, I love Purple Rain.
I love. You know what I love? I love a good wet cake. I love a good wet cake.
Wet cake is bad news. You ever think about that?
Yeah,
Like if someone's
sure.
like, you have to
Yes.
either eat this scorpion or this piece of wet cake, it's a toss-up. What would
wet
you rather
cake.
eat?
Wet cake all day. Wet cake. Give me that soppy fucking
What's
cake.
the dampness level of the scorpion?
I don't like that question either because that implies that the scorpion could be described as a wet scorpion. And that's like, oh, that scorpion's soaked, right?
A wet scorpion to me sounds like someone who's like really intense, but like,
I
it's
saw
also
the wet
kind of a bummer.
scorpion. I saw the wet scorpion at the Plum House.
No, the wet scorpion is next door to the Plum House. That's what I
Yeah.
want it to be.
A wet scorpion is when someone dives into a pool and the water's not deep enough.
Oh, yes, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Yes.
But about the Decemberists, I have a special, like, I loved the Decemberists when I was in college, started listening to them, really enjoyed them. My wife loves them too. They're so good. I have a special, like, spot in my heart. The doctor says it's not okay, but anyway, I have a special place in my heart. I should have said a place in my heart. For this one specific memory that I have. Remember how I was saying earlier, like on the ferry ride back from Peaks Island in Maine after the show I did this weekend,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
wanted to take like a mental snapshot of just like, I want to live in this moment again. If I could take a minute of life and put it in a snow globe and revisit it whenever I wanted to.
Right.
This is beautiful, by the way. You should write this down.
I am.
If I could do that.
By the way, I love snow globes. It's across the street from Plum House.
So
It's just
pale.
the North
They're
Pole
the palest
themed-
women. The palest women in the world.
Finnish strippers.
Yeah.
No, it's for polar bears.
my top off for you?
I mean, yes.
Oh no. Oh no, this next woman, she always likes to sing her own songs that she's stripping to. When I heard you like this, when you heard me like that,
She's stripping to that song.
to me now. This is terrible.
I'm the scat man. Why
are you skipping to that song?
Come on, Brad, you gotta do
If
one
I
now.
could turn back time,
I don't do accents.
Come on, Brad,
I'd
Brad,
give
do
it all to you. Come on, Brad.
Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers.
My accent would be offensive to so many groups of people. I can't do it. I can't do it. So
sorry,
Ray's got a
I
snow
have-
globe
now
of
I
life
have-
with his
You got one, Ray?
Decemberists.
I just have so many like 80s and 90s sitcom things
I
happening.
got
in
one,
my
I got
head.
one, I got one,
Okay,
I got one, I got one.
Go ahead.
They go, okay, it's fine. It's her last song. Okay, she's gonna go up for her last song. Okay, good. Finally, she goes up. This is the song that never ends.
Oh no. You know, when you sing
By
it
the way,
that way,
my-
it sounds
my-
like she's not. She's
Yeah.
not
I was gonna say
Eastern European
my
at all.
accent is crossing over from a like a dialect type of thing to a condition.
Yeah, she's clinically Swedish.
That was why I didn't do an accent.
Clinically Swedish.
Oh wait, she's coming up for an encore.
Oh no.
Ooh-ah-ta-ta-tat. Come on and get down with the sickness. Ooh-ah-ta-ta-tat. I was trying to think of something that had like a sound in it.
I have a good one. But
Ooh-ah-ta-ta-tat.
mine is I can't do the accent. I lost the accent. Now I'm doing an offensive character and I can't do it.
All right, so my special place in my heart is for the Decemberists because I was doing a show in Newport, Rhode Island
Right.
one evening in the summer, and it was during the Newport Folk Festival.
Yeah.
And the folk festival is like, it's huge. The Newport Folk Festival is gigantic. I mean, bands from all over the place. It's it's big stuff. And the Decemberists were playing. And with the Newport Folk Festival, you don't know when people are on. You
Right.
just you show up and you're like, I guess maybe that'll happen then. And so I was waiting to go on, and I stepped outside, and it was directly like across the bay, essentially, from the folk festival. And so
Okay.
I step outside, and I am standing with like a little ledge, and there's just ocean, right? So it's beautiful. The sun is setting. I'm standing out there waiting to go on stage. There's a a huge crowd for this show. It's fun. I'm looking forward to it. And the Decemberists start their set. And it carries over the water. And
That's
I
cool.
know the songs that they're playing, and it was such a nice moment where I was like, "Oh, this
yeah.
is great. This is beautiful. Like I'm an audience of one that taking
Yes.
this in." And it was
for
really
sure.
wonderful. Yeah.
That's great.
beautiful.
Yeah, they were killer. I mean, Lindsay had asked me a while ago, and so I was like, yeah, sure. And like, I've been in a band for like 15 years or whatever, and I have a wide appreciation for genre. So I wasn't even like, oh, I want to check these guys out beforehand. I'm like, I'm just happy to go and experience it.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I've been living in New York since October, so I've been here for like 10 months, but I had never actually taken the Staten Island ferry to the city, and I had never taken the subway. And so we went up, we took the Staten Island ferry, we took the subway up to Central Park, walked through Central Park, spent $1 million on a cheeseburger and pizza.
Worth it.
But yeah, so Decemberists were killer. We had an awesome time. We were coming back, and I'm like, let's get a dessert of some kind. And she's like, let's get French fries and milkshakes at a diner. And so we went to Carnegie Diner, and we got an insane waffle milkshake. I don't know if you saw it on my
waffle.
Instagram. It was
Yep.
good.
Do the waffle.
It was great. Do the waffle. And and we walked back. We walked like 8 miles, which was a lot of walking. And but we came back late at night, and it was just awesome. We had a great time, and like to the point where I'm gonna look up their set list from that night and kind of use that as a jumping off point to get into them, because I'll make a playlist of all those
Yeah.
songs that I already have a little bit of knowledge of, and then just get into them. But they were killer,
they're
and
great.
we had an awesome time. It was a very classic New York City night. The idea of like just like in the middle of August,
Yeah.
taking the ferry,
The power
taking
went
the
out.
subway,
Some people were killed
going
by a
into-
serial killer.
You were walking here.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who we
You
saw?
mugged Andrew Chavone.
You know who we walked right next to and we're friends with now?
Al
Spike Lee.
Pacino.
Oh,
He's from Sopranos. Who is it? Who do you think it is?
Well, I know who it isn't.
Yeah, good job. It was Christopher from Sopranos.
Christopher?
Yeah.
Chrissy?
Michael, what's his
Chrissy.
name? I think it's Michael.
It's Chrissy.
Imperioli?
Yo, T.
Chrissy.
I don't know, T.
Chrissy.
Chrissy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
Michael
it fucking
Imperioli.
Decemberists you're playing right now? What the fuck is going on?
Yo, T. It's
Is that a fucking mandolin I hear?
It's like stand-up bass.
Is that a fucking 12-string mandolin? What the fuck is going on over there?
It's folk that touch my heart. I don't know. Let's go see him.
Chrissy, you want somebody to touch your fucking heart? I'm going to reach my hand up your fucking ass and I'll fucking touch your heart, okay?
A lot of accents, the back half of this episode.
It's called
Hear me
Tired.
Yes.
They have a song about a butterfly, and tears were streaming down my face the first time I heard it.
And here she comes. You're my butterfly, sugar crazy.
Oh, no.
I think we should start wrapping it up. We have other
Yes.
things to
No,
talk about.
I have two more things. I have two more things I got to say.
But
Two
I mean, we
more.
have
They're
one
short.
that would take up a lot of time on the list, and I think we should give it its fair time.
I got two short ones. Two shorties.
Oh,
That's
I'm
what
sorry.
we'll do at the
I
end.
thought
We'll
you,
call 'em
I thought you got
shorties.
that cleared up. This is dumb. This is dumb. All right. We owe, I think, let's say this now then. We owe the listeners a conversation about the rehearsal on the next bonus.
Oh, yeah. Fuck. Yeah,
Yeah.
we do have to talk about that. But here's my two shorties. You ready?
But yeah, we're already too far in where it would be a whole other
Yeah,
thing.
it is.
So
it is.
we'll
The
talk
rehearsal
about
is
that
like,
next time.
Yeah, it's like a transcendent comedy / documentary thing.
I laughed. I cried. I'm still crying. That's
Yes,
that's my review.
My two quick things. One of them,
Yeah.
and
You
Brad
said short
and I,
things.
they're very short.
Okay.
Brad and I can kind of, talk about this. There's a new game that's called Saints Row. It's
Yes.
a reboot of the Saints Row series. I've loved the Saints Row series since like 2006 or 7. I've played every game in the series. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, plus Gat Out of Hell and all their DLC. I've always loved them. Brad and I are both been into them. They've been ridiculous over the years. Like they're very like I kind of put it like if GTA, Grand Theft Auto, if that's the Avengers movies, Saints Row is Deadpool. That's kind of how they are. They have like big dildo bats and
I'm
stuff.
familiar with like some of the, I've seen trailers. I've seen some
Right.
gameplay discussion about it. I
Yeah.
tried playing one early on. It
Yeah.
might have been the first one. I don't know.
Right.
And I was turned off by it. The controls, and I think the controls probably got better.
Yeah. The first
but-
one is more of a GTA clone, by the way, as well.
Yeah,
they really
exactly.
went in their own direction kind of slowly.
Yeah, and it, you guys talking about it the other day when we were recording before, it was either before or after we recorded, and
Yeah.
you were talking about the game, and you were kind of selling me on this game, and I was ready to buy the game, and
Yeah.
then I happened to see on YouTube
Yeah.
a slew of like reviews were coming out, and so I started clicking on those and checking out the reviews, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear your input because
Yeah.
you guys like the franchise and play it,
Yes.
and the reviews are not good. They are
So-
rough.
So
I
here's
haven't
what's
seen a
interesting.
game panned that hard in a long time, and I'm not saying that because you like it. It's fascinating that happened, and the thing that sold me was how wild you made it sound. And then I looked
So
at the
let me-
gameplay, and it's not wild.
So let me give you this. So in one of the Saints Row games, the way that the game opens is that basically you're on like Air Force One because you become the president in Saints Row 4.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that part. Yeah.
And I think what happens is they throw you out of the airplane and you're falling. And I'm not sure exactly. Maybe Brad can help me. I don't know how you
I don't
readjust it.
remember.
So basically, you are able to maneuver in the air so that you get above them as they're flying and you break back into the cockpit through the front window and fight back into the plane. And it's fucking crazy like
Yeah,
that.
it's ridiculous,
It's
yeah.
like bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when this one started, I knew they said they were going in a more realistic direction. But what I was saying to Brad is before, if it was like the Avengers is GTA and this is Deadpool, now if GTA is the Avengers, this is Fast and Furious. So it's not quite as silly and bombastic, but it is ridiculous shit. Like it totally is. So this one takes place basically around like Austin and like the kind of the borders of Mexico and stuff like that. And it's a similar story where you begin like starting an empire of a gang and you have rival gangs and stuff like that. Little bit more grounded, but still very insane, like Fast and Furious. And right away, when I started playing it, I was like, I love this. And right away, they did have like those crazy type of storylines that are insanely bombastic.
Yeah.
I really had fun with it. And me and Brad were talking, and he was like, I'm not loving it yet. And Brad, it was funny because I was like, the game is too easy for me. And I think Brad was mad at me because he kept dying.
I'm still dying. I'm still dying all the time. Chuck's like, I had to turn my difficulty up. I'm like, I have to sit closer to the TV. Yeah.
But I'm loving it. And then the other day I was like, do you want to play co-op? And so Brad and I played co-op for like 2 hours, and it was so fucking fun.
It was significantly more fun to play co-op.
It was so fun.
See, but that's the thing is like co-op stuff is like there are games that I've played that I hated, and then I play online with somebody like a friend in co-op, you know, not online like multiplayer, blah blah blah. Then it's fun, and then immediately I'm just like, I'm done. You know what I mean? But
I know what you mean. I'm really liking it a lot.
Yeah.
I really like the mechanics of how you shoot and how you aim in this game, which is a little bit different than the GTA stuff that I've dealt with. I really like the mechanics of Red Dead 2. Red Dead 2 feels a lot more sluggish to me, but it's more story oriented, and this feels more arcadey and action oriented. Yeah. But I'm having a ton of fun. I'm really, really liking it. I'm really liking the way they build the story. I just did a mission. I know this is a little nerdy. I'll make this really short, where basically you get hired to kind of as like a lawman to protect this artifact being brought into a museum. And the other gangs break into the museum during this big party to steal it. And so the guy breaks in with a motorcycle and drives down the T-Rex like skeleton, and there's this huge shootout all through the museum, which culminates with you with a minigun in the middle of the museum. And the only way to defeat the gangs is to just spin around and kill everybody like that. But in doing so, you destroy the entire museum, which is a big part of the story.
Yeah.
But I'm having so much fun. I love the landscape. They went so hard into Tex-Mex, Texas, like all that kind of stuff, all the radio stations, all the places around you and the environment. And I could easily jump on the couch and play it for 4 hours and just let the time go by, and I'm having a lot of fun. But I know Brad is having a different experience.
I played for like 12 minutes earlier today, and I was like, I don't like this. It's a very buggy game. Like the way to regain your health is, you know, you go up near somebody and you press Y in the middle of combat, and you do like a cool takedown, like you stab them in the neck and then shove them and then shoot them in the head or something like that. And at least my build, whatever version of the game I have, I don't think I've made contact with a person in the past 4 days doing these takedowns where I do the motion and the person's at the wrong height or they're behind me or something. And I'm like, I paid $70 for this game.
And this has happened to me
bad.
A lot. One of the things that's happened to me a lot has been like, whenever I feel like I buy a game at first, I almost feel like this has become a thing in the past decade.
Absolutely.
Where it's like super buggy for a little bit, and then the updates slowly roll out, and it gets obviously like these problems get fixed. But I feel like when I'm playing a game within the first week, it's almost like I'm like, well, maybe my save game won't even save. Who knows?
Right.
That happens to me a lot.
Yeah,
anyway, talk about your experience with the actual gameplay.
I do think that the story is laid out, so far at least, like, oh, you get things revealed to you, you get upgrades, and you get powers at a good pace to where I'm at least.
Saints Row is my favorite game for that kind of stuff.
And now I've got to where I can start some illegal enterprises around the city, and earn some income. And then once I earn income, I can buy better weapons, and then maybe not die so freaking much. It's fun so far. I just wish it were a little more polished.
Yeah,
That's
it's tough because
that happens.
You guys were selling me on it before it came out, and I was ready to get it. And then everything I have watched about it and the footage that I've seen and stuff like that, I was like, I guess I'll wait. Maybe I'll watch you play, or I'll try it out or something like that.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I'm just in a post-game depression because I just finished Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, my favorite game ever, I think.
And listen, I could do an entire bonus episode.
I know.
About Breath of the Wild. So I will just say quickly, I had the Nintendo Switch is not mine, it's my son's. I got it for him for Christmas. And so he he had the Switch. I have never really played other than just like doing some multiplayer stuff with him. And I decided to get Breath of the Wild because I thought, hey, maybe he'll like this. Maybe he can get into this. And he needed help early on with something. And so I was helping him. And I remember like over the course of that like afternoon starting to be like, I think I might play this after you go to bed, right? Like I started thinking about it. And so I started to play the game. And like after the first like 2 nights, I was like, all right, I got to buy a real controller. I have to buy a real
like
controller for my mitts instead of the little baby unit.
Yeah.
And so I started playing, and I absolutely fell in love with Breath of the Wild. Like it's a perfect game, and the level of a detail, the attention to tiny things. It just builds this entire beautiful world, and it's so impressive. And it's I think story is very thin, but what's there is very effective. And so I really appreciate it. And I know Brad loves the game too.
I do.
Okay.
That's all I got. Bye.
I had a work message.
Okay.
Yeah.
To put it Brad's way, he's jizzed his dick over this game 1,000 times in the Chuck and Brad podcast over the years, right?
I don't know that that's exactly how I phrased
Jizzed
it.
his diaper. Sorry.
Thank you.
Ew, jizzed my diper is bad news.
It's disgusting. I hate it. I hate it. This is why we should have ended earlier. No, I love the game so much. And I'm just shocked that I walked away, after like a month of playing this game. I walked away being like, this Nintendo Switch game is one of my favorite games ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just, I'm not into a lot of what Nintendo has to offer. That's not the kind of game player that I am.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't, so it's so good, and I can only imagine the twisted emotions that you must have, Brad, because I'm sure you played this when it came out.
Yes.
Which was 5 fucking years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
And for me, I'm just like, well, they pushed it back again. They said Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be spring of 2023. And I'm like, man, I got to wait till spring? And you have waited 5 years.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine, but I can't wait for that game. That's Breath of the Wild. Oh my God, so good. Like I would go so far as to say, if you have expendable cash at this level, I would say if it's not going to hurt you, if you're not going to feel the loss, Breath of the Wild is worth the purchase of a Switch.
Wow.
Wow, that's great.
It is worth buying a Switch to play that game. And then sell the Switch or break it in front of a child.
I mean, I love Mario Odyssey and Mario 3D World. Like, those games, I know that some people are like less interested in those games, but they're incredibly well made. They're incredibly well done.
Sure, yeah. I played Odyssey with Finn, and I had a lot of fun with it. But it's not the kind of game where I'm like, I'm gonna buy that and I can't wait to play it. It's just not.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm not a Nintendo customer essentially.
Right.
Sure.
I became
No, I
one
hear you,
because of Finn.
Yeah.
I get that the quality of their stuff is usually very good.
Right.
But this was like next level, and I think I might. I have Horizon Forbidden West kind of in my queue to play next.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, yeah, I
Western
liked,
themed.
it is.
There you go,
Yes,
Western.
I liked Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
I think I'll enjoy this. I am considering going back and playing Witcher 3 again.
Ooh.
Because it's very deep, tons of detail, and Witcher 3 feels like the adult version, the rated R version of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Is that
Does
accurate,
make sense?
Brad?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not saying like it parallels like exactly, but in terms of like it's a fantasy world that's open world, that you can kind of choose your path, and you're gonna battle some monsters.
Yeah.
And you need to be careful with your weapons because they break. And
Right.
all that kind of stuff is there, and like deep game menu mechanics and stuff like that. I mean, it's not the same at all, but it kind of, I feel like it scratches a little bit of the itch, if that makes sense. I think it's a good when you're kicking heroin, it's a good methadone. I think Witcher 3 might be a good methadone to Zelda Breath of the Wild. Brad, if you have other suggestions for a Breath of the Wild methadone, I would love to hear it.
I mean, I think Forbidden West is good in the sense that it's a giant open world, and it's weird because I think that it's a little more story driven than a typical Zelda game would be, because Zelda, like the stories for Zelda are pretty simple, but I liked Zero Dawn because of the gameplay and the story. And the story here felt a little weaker in Forbidden West.
Yeah.
But still, like, an enjoy. I put 80 something hours into the game, so I was clearly getting something out of it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely. I got to think about it.
My last little thing. I love the documentary series. I love the documentary series Untold on Netflix, which is about sports stories.
Yes.
I loved Malice at the Palace. I loved the Trashers, the hockey team. A new one came out called The Girlfriend That Didn't Exist, and it's about Manti Te'o.
Yes.
And his whole thing.
Yeah.
So, Brad, did you watch football when this was happening?
Yes, I did. Manti Te'o was a linebacker for the University of Notre Dame and was famously catfished over an extended period of time by people pretending to be a woman, that he was like in a pseudo relationship with, long distance, but again, she did not exist. And there was like, it came to light in a really messy, ugly
Deadspin.
way. Yeah.
Do you know the story, Ray?
Yeah, I know the story. Yeah.
How do you know it?
It's literally the only reason I know the name Manti Te'o.
That's interesting. See, I didn't know the story at all.
Yeah.
Man, the documentary, it's funny because one of the problems with documentaries sometimes is like there's not a great resolution to stories that are real in a way that that you'd want from an actual narrative film.
Right.
But this story, the entire time, they have the person who catfished him and him telling their events of the story in order, as well as all the people surrounding them and everybody reporting on it.
Yeah.
And it's like so sad for this guy. Like, I feel so terrible for this guy because it ended up being like, he was catfished. The person who made him think that he had a girlfriend, tricked them into thinking that she died. So he said that she died. And then when it was found out that she wasn't real, instead of kind of like waiting for the facts to come out, it was insinuated that he did it as a fraud and created this story.
Right. For like sympathy and press. And yeah.
But what's interesting is like in real life, what happened was his grandmother really died. And that day, the person who was tricking him told him that the fake girlfriend died. And so he was public. He's like, my girlfriend and my grandmother died in the same day, and I'm playing this season for them. And I'm like, it's so weird for people to look at that and be like, he must have made up half of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
what
yeah.
a strange, what a messy thing to make up.
What did Neve Schultz get to the bottom of here?
Well, so here's what happened. He's like, everyone thinks like, how come you didn't know you're being catfished? He goes, because this was 2009 and that didn't exist really.
Yeah.
Right.
It's 13 years ago.
Neve Schultz is the host of Catfish and
Catfish,
the subject-ish of the
movie.
original documentary Catfish, which is also a questionable thing.
I agree too. I agree. But what happened was, so some people thought it was fraud, but do you know that a lot of people thought that he was trying to cover up him being gay, and that was a real running thing for him for a long time?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I could see. Yeah, I could see that.
It was just like, it was just a bummer. And it's weird because he talks in it the whole time. He tells the whole story from his perspective. And Brad and I both watched the Tony Hawk Till the Wheels Fall Off, the ending where, what's his name? It's not Stacy. Is it Stacy?
Rodney Mullen.
Is it Rodney Mullen?
I thought so.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Stacy, yeah, that's the other guy. Rodney Mullen gives a speech at the end of Tony Hawk Till the Wheels Fall Off about the damage that these skaters do to their body.
Yeah.
And about how they're trading in that difficulty and that pain to accept what they were meant like what they were put on Earth to do, essentially, and the satisfaction that comes with that. And it's like this beautiful.
They have a whole
goosebump.
sign printed out outside of the Plum House that says exactly the same thing.
Yeah, same speech.
Yeah.
That's where Rodney Mullen got it.
Yeah.
But it's like it brings tears to my eyes. I showed it to Brad, and you had tears in your eyes watching
Yeah.
it. Manti Te'o's like speech / monologue at the end of this of how he pushes through this judgment and the world. Like, imagine if for a year you thought you had a girlfriend and then you find out she's fake and the whole world is against you for it.
Right.
Is like,
yeah.
His speech about it is awe-inspiring and beautiful and amazing, but it's so worth it. Watch it. It's on Netflix. Untold, the girlfriend who didn't exist. You're gonna walk away being like, I love that guy. But here's my question. I wanted to ask Brad, how has his performance been since he got signed by the Ravens?
I mean, really, it was news when he was drafted.
Right.
I think the second round, maybe the Chargers.
Yeah.
And then he had stints with other teams. I think he was on the Bears a couple years ago. But
Wow,
he's been like a replacement level linebacker.
Wow.
He was never a superstar.
He was a superstar in college to like an insane degree.
Right. But sometimes they don't make the transition from the college to the pro.
Well, he talked about how it shook his confidence. He said basically his playing in college was all about confidence, and because this happened, it's like he lost his ability to trust himself.
Yeah.
Which was devastating.
Can I be honest here?
Yes.
Okay, what are you going to say about Manti?
I didn't know that this was going to come up. But I think, in the spirit of being honest and open, and because we are
Pulling back the curtain.
Because we are pulling back the kimono curtain here.
Yes.
I can be honest in this behind the scenes kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? The Funbearable, extra, if you will.
Yeah.
I was pretending to be Manti Te'o's grandmother for about a decade. And
Wow.
That's a good take. I like that direction.
And when I felt it got too real, I faked the fake grandmother's death. And I can't help but feel partly responsible for some of the emotional journey he's been on.
Yeah, you should.
I couldn't wear the prosthesis anymore.
Right. Yeah, of course.
And, imagine Mrs. Doubtfire.
I do imagine. Yeah.
Okay, are you imagining it?
Yeah.
Now imagine Mrs. Doubtfire's Paul Williams, Robin Williams. Paul Williams is the New Zealand Taskmaster's assistant.
Nice.
Robin Williams. Now imagine if Robin Williams was a 6'7" morbidly obese man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inside of more prosthetics and makeup and stuff like that, it got to be too much for me. And
What was
so I
interesting-
apologize. So I was catfishing Manti Te'o as his grandmother.
Right,
What I was
okay.
going to say though, here's what's interesting because
Manti Te'o.
I want to give the devil his due. You're 6'7". Mm-hmm. You just said you're morbidly obese.
Correct.
The role of his grandmother,
Yes.
who was a 4'9" Samoan frail woman,
Yes.
I never even would have suspected
No.
it. So
Thank you.
deserve some praise for
And
that.
because you know what? It's craft. You know what I mean? It's a craft.
Yeah.
right.
That's when I fell in love with performing and like the idea of acting.
Yeah.
I think
it a
it's
positive
beautiful. Yeah.
performing.
Right.
Yeah.
This is weird. Yes. All right. We owe the listeners more discussion about some of the stuff that's been going on in our lives and some of the stuff we've been watching and imbibing and taking in. We should absolutely do that. I think this is a good thing to do. This like casual,
Me too.
laid back, like let's catch up. Let's turn the performance part of it off
Yes.
and have a nice chat.
I love it. Extra.
In other words, it's like, hey, do you like Funbearable? What if it was like a little more boring, but more personal?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Like,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, it's us sitting down in the green room after a show, sweaty, and being like, yeah, so I don't know, jalapeno poppers give me heartburn. Right? It's a lot
Yeah,
of that.
they do. Can't
And I
have it
do
too
want
spicy.
I would feel remiss if I didn't mention this. I just want to say, Cooper's Cast Coffee is such a delicious coffee.
That's what I've heard. I've heard they've got good beans.
Yeah. Here's what I'm thinking. Like if our main episodes are sponsored by Blue Chew,
Yes.
Right.
this bonus episode could be
extra.
This extra bonus could be, sponsored by my favorite coffee bean, Cooper's Cast Coffee.
Could be.
And you can get that at cooperscoffeeco.com. And I just want to throw it out there.
By the way, if you do send him any beans, I think you should cut each bean in 3 ways, and
that'll ruin the brew. That'll ruin the brew. You don't.
Well,
I'll give you a third of the beans.
You know what? Have you heard the story King Solomon?
Yes.
The point of the King Solomon story is it's better to kill that baby so that everyone gets a piece.
You missed this. I think
you
you missed the moral here.
Oh wait, what do you?
Are you familiar with the fable?
Give me half a baby and I will end this conversation.
No. Are you familiar with the fable of the princess and the bean?
It's yours. That's what this episode should be
I'm
called.
the princess and I want a bean.
Perfect.
Now picture me in a little dress saying, I'm the princess and I want a bean.
I always do.
But I'm 1.5 feet tall. That's important to remember. I'm a princess and I want a bean.
What's funny is you always say that when you come out on stage at the Blumhouse.
Yes.
Yes, I do. Well,
Perfect.
Just like we don't know how to end a mainline episode of the podcast, we definitely don't know how to end an episode of this bonus extra.
Yeah. So I got an ending.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Extra. You just read all about it.
Oh, I have diarrhea now. I think we should definitely do more of this, though, and I think I hope it has value to the listeners. And if there's stuff that you are interested in us deep diving into on these bonus extras, give us a shout at funbearablepod@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on social media at all of the social medias, funbearablepod.
Damn right.
Brad, you want to take us out of there?
I'm Brad Rohr for Ray Harrington and Chuck Staten. Thank you for being Funbearable with us. No, it still doesn't.
Yeah, that one's a little different.
Sorry for being Funbearable is better.
Yeah. Well, I get what he was doing. He wanted to do a different thing for the bonus extra.
People to feel included.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll workshop.
Don't you like it? I know I do. How about you? What do we know? Tiny patterns, hypnotizing, terrorizing. Turn the lights off.